and welcome to another episode of What's the Message? I am your host, Claudia Allen. This is my co-host, my partner, my boss, my editor-in-chief, the one, the only, Carmela Monk Crawford, and we are here to talk to you about mothering while Black.
Oh, my goodness.
Mothering while Black. All right? Now, I
missed the title. Go ahead.
Now, to be clear, I am not a mother. I've never been pregnant. Just in case this goes out to any saints and ain'ts that are going to try to feel a certain way, like I'm speaking as an expert. I'm not speaking as an expert. I'm with an expert.
Oh.
Okay? So I'm speaking to a woman who is a mother of 3.
Yes.
And I'm speaking as a child. So my mother is a Black mother. So.
Yes. Mothering while Black.
Mothering while Black. Now, the reason why this particular topic really interested me, Carmela, is because I know that Harvard put out in their public health magazine, their winter 2019 issue was actually entitled "America is Failing Its Black Mothers."
Yes.
And there's been a lot of focus on Black maternal deaths, a lot of focus on Black women who are losing their lives during labor, not to mention the fact that it appears as though the Democratic Party, particularly like Elizabeth Warren, there was a period of time earlier on when Kamala Harris was still in the race. The both of them were both kind of championing having this very public conversation around Black maternal health that had never really been had before.
Okay.
And so I really just kind of wanted to bring this to What's the Message and have us just talk, what has been your experience as a Black woman in America, mothering 3 children, and then also, kind of get your, of course, reporting expertise.
This is funny. So we're not talking about Black motherisms, nothing like that. We're not talking about...
No. I mean, if you want to bring that in, you can.
I'm laughing because I saw a friend of mine. She was on Facebook. She had gone to a self-defense class, and she went up there, and her son was holding the little board, and she went and said, "Pow!" Broke the thing in half. And I was like, "That's Black mom food." And I'm like, are we talking? We're not talking about that. We're talking
hilarious.
We're talking about motherhood. And yes, you're right. I'm a mom of 3. And the idea, and this is very serious. I have to make sure that I'm talking about the right thing. In our family history,
For sure.
My paternal grandmother, never met her. She passed away in childbirth.
Wow.
With her 4th child. So my dad's mother was gone.
Wow.
Never had the opportunity to meet her. But what's interesting, I look like her. As I was always interested in her story. For myself, I was one of these people, as you would call, advanced maternal age.
Okay.
You ever heard of that? That's when you have children after 35.
Oh,
which
wow.
so many more women are doing now because people are, settling down later in life.
Absolutely.
And opting to have their children later in life. I was one of those. God bless me still, though.
Absolutely.
Amen. And so I've got 3 children, but I'm going to tell you, the issue is very important. With my 2nd child, we were between jobs, and I didn't have the health care that I'd had the first time. So I had to go, like so many other women, had to go to the community clinic, get a doctor, and we moved in the interim.
Okay.
So then we moved across the country and came back. The doctor didn't want to see me anymore because she felt that the continuity of care was not there, and she did not want to be responsible for anything that may or may not go wrong in gestation. She didn't have the chance to advise me, tell me what to eat, monitor the baby, monitor for any illnesses or, anything that was developing. Dropped me. So I'm
Wow.
I'm in the community clinic, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with no insurance the way I had it before. I can't remember what we did. But
Yeah.
oh, my child, my second child, my beautiful. I always tell stories about him. He gets embarrassed. It's like everybody tell, because his life was so interesting, right? When he came into this world, oh my goodness,
fascinating.
And so the whole stereotypical. Well, it's time to go. It's time to go to the hospital. Well, that happened at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm feeling, I don't know. I tell my husband, I was like, okay, let's just wait. And, let's see what's going to happen. Is this for real? Finally, I said, no, I think this is getting kind of serious. And so we called the hospital. I'm on my way. Well, where are your contractions? Oh, they're about 4 minutes apart. You need, so I needed to be getting there and everything. So she said, come in when they're a minute and a half apart. So that's weird. But that's what happens when you're in... You're in a healthcare situation that people don't know you. You have a lot of people coming in and out. She doesn't know me. Either she would, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We cut it close.
You cutting it real close.
Really
when
close.
Your contractions is
So we drove to the hospital. It's feeling more than uncomfortable, I'll let you know. We get there. They put me in the little wheelchair, drive me to the room. And my husband has my little daughter and says, okay, I'm going to go park the car. He goes out to park the car. Boom, as soon as he walks out of the room, woo! Yes, it's on.
You went into labor?
It's no epidural, no anything. They got me on the gurney. Everybody came running in, lights, everything covered up. Please, all the doctors, all the nurses, everything. Okay, we're going. I'm like, wait, we can't go yet. I'm not ready yet. And so by the time my husband got back from parking the car, all the lights were down, put away.
You was just sitting there holding the baby.
Things were turned down. I was covered back up. There was not a nurse, a doctor, anything. And my husband walks in. He's like, hey, how you doing? How's it going? I was like, look over there.
Are you serious?
Look over there. He said, are you kidding? What do you say? Yeah, we just had the baby. I missed the whole thing. So anyway, that's my story.
Wow.
But I guess my whole reason I'm telling that is, number one, it's scary. Mm-hmm. Being so-called of advanced maternal age, this stuff, it's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Going through everything. And the potential for being misread, not being taken seriously, not paid attention to is very serious. And so when you talk about Black maternal health, and what sadly is we've covered this in Message very recently, both online and in our print edition, Black mortality rates. Number one, I can tell you about this. It's very, very interesting. We have a woman by the name of Violet Larry who was working along with a team of her colleagues out in Portland, Oregon. And she was telling us about, she's like a Head Start or a Healthy Start educator. And so she wrote this article for us. And I thought it was very interesting. She's talking about how the United States ranks 56th out of 224 nations around the world.
Wow.
224 nations, we're 56 in terms of infant mortality. 700 women die every year because of pregnancy complications.
Wow.
All right, so that's, it's not the best rate in terms of maternal health in the first place for people overall.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really scary. This high infant mortality rate is driven by the increased number of African American deaths. Black babies, right, are 2.2 times as likely to die as white babies.
Wow.
Black moms are 3 times more likely to die than white moms of pregnancy-related conditions.
Yeah.
And so you got to wonder, what is going on? And that's our story. Well, why is it in 2019 when we were writing this, and even now, currently, why is it during this time, this is not back in my grandmother's time.
Yeah.
This is where people have access to, highly sensitive monitoring.
Correct.
For in utero, people can do so many amazing things with in vitro fertilization. There are so many different procedures. Why and how could it be possible that you would have this high rate? And why is it coming down negatively on Black women?
Yeah. I mean, from what I'm hearing, from what I'm reading, so many different Black women are talking about how either during childbirth they're complaining of experiencing pain, or they're complaining of blood loss, or they're complaining about various things, and nurses and hospital personnel are actively not believing them. So there's, a lot of Black women that are coming out writing pieces saying we need hospital personnel to believe us and believe that we know our own bodies. I'm even remembering, I don't know if, people are familiar with the TV judge. I love court TV.
Oh, do you?
Oh, I love court TV. And there was a TV judge named Judge Glenda Hatchett.
I remember her.
Judge Hatchett, Black woman. Her son got married, and her daughter-in-law died at 39 because of blood loss, only 12 hours after giving birth to her second child via a C-section. And so her and her son, they've spoken before, Congress, and they're trying to get a lot of bills and legislation passed because so many Black women are dying, and the conversation is it's unnecessary.
Yes.
It's not as though it's not preventable stuff. It's that you're not hearing me when I say something is going on, and so you need to check it out or fix it. I think I read some story where a woman was experiencing pain. She was crying out for them to come and alleviate the pain, and they flat out just didn't come.
Yeah.
So she was just there for hours, It makes me just even wonder, I kind of want to go and ask my mom, because my mom was 34, I think, when she had me. And she was experiencing many complications prior to getting pregnant, miscarriages and things like that. And then once she did have me and went into labor, she was in labor for about 16 hours until they did an emergency C-section. And so there's a part of me that wonders, it's now having read all this stuff, that kind of wants to ask her hey, were you complaining about certain things or asking for certain treatment or care and they just weren't giving it to you? Is that why you were dealing? Because 16 hours is a long time to be trying to have a kid and the kid's not coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just kind of makes you wonder, what is it about Black women that people don't believe that we can experience pain in childbirth?
Yeah. It's scary to me and very sad to me because one, the issue of pain and pain medication and alleviating pain, these are issues as well. And the stereotypical viewpoint that Black people in general can tolerate higher levels of pain, or that to do that would to feed into an addictive personality that could cause problems, as if it wouldn't be that for somebody else. Those are two things that I've heard. I think when I've talked to people, in particular the young lady that wrote this article and another article for us, you can see it on messagemagazine.com, written by Dr. Linda Freeman, who's Doctor of Health Sciences, MBA, MPH, very well versed in this topic area, who teaches medical students about racial bias.
In Iowa.
In Iowa, of all places.
Absolutely.
And and I've talked to her before. A lot of people say, that's not me, that's not what I would do. But, to discover and uncover a racial bias, that's hard work, and it takes a lot a lot of awareness to realize where that comes in. And in particular, in this issue of, or in this area of maternal health and infant mortality, this is an issue that has to be taken very seriously if we want to preserve the lives of women and children. This is something that Violet Larry said I thought was interesting. Implicit bias among white health care providers can make them view pregnant women as less intelligent, less likely to follow doctors' prescribed treatment, and more likely to engage in healthy risk behaviors than white patients.
Wow.
Which is why you would, that would come along the lines of whether or not we want to give a certain amount of pain medication, or why we wouldn't discuss in detail certain procedures or options, thereby not giving someone all of the information that they need. Or they're not going to follow through, so I'm not going to say this. And to be fair, there's not another side to that. I mean, obviously the bias is an issue in and of itself. We all have to take upon ourselves the idea that I've got to fight for the life of my child and myself when I'm going into a medical facility.
Absolutely.
You have to advocate for yourself because you may not have that backup there.
Yeah.
You may not, I had my husband that was there with me, and in our family, my father suffered a terminal illness, and my mother was there the whole time. Somebody has to be there to say, something's not right. My loved one is not responding to this. My loved one is in pain. My loved one is not doing it. I see our producer is nodding his head because he's gone through this so many times. Somebody has to be there to let the medical establishment know this is not just one other person, this is an individual. And this individual responds this way. Or, for all those different reasons, you have to have somebody to advocate for you. Yeah. So approximately 1 in 3 deaths among women during or within a year of pregnancy were pregnancy related.
Wow.
This is for Black patients. 1 in 3 deaths among women during or within a year of pregnancy were pregnancy related. So you think after you leave the hospital, you're okay. You made it through, whether it was a C-section or whatever else happened. You feel like once you go home, you're done. But you've got a year's window that your body has to recover.
Wow.
From birthing another human being like I did without anesthesia. Every time he said something to me, I was like, for the 9 months I carried you. No charge. And let's talk about that fateful day. No, but so then, 2 out of 3 deaths were determined to be preventable.
Wow. Leading
causes of pregnancy-related deaths varied by race and ethnicity, but pregnancy-related deaths occurred during pregnancy, delivery, and up to a year later, as we said. So, oh my goodness, you asked me about this. This is a quagmire.
Yeah.
And the question is, how can we encourage and support the people that we know who are, on this journey? They're about to deliver a child or something. We just have to be there. You have to be there. People who don't have someone to speak up for them, you have to be there. You have to speak up for yourself. You have to, know the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
And be able to feel comfortable saying something's not right.
Yeah. And, what's crazy. So it's like, let's say Black women, because we're talking about mothering while Black, right? So it's like there's so many phases to mothering, right? So it's like there's Black women who, while pregnant, are dealing with complications. Then, like you're saying, they go into labor, are giving birth, and are either not getting the help or attention that they need. Then I read in Brian Stevenson's book, Just Mercy, where he talked about Black women in Alabama who were giving birth to stillbirths and were being locked up, and not just put in prison, but being put on death row.
I remember that story.
Because they were, because they were assuming that, because you are Black and you are a woman, you didn't give birth to a stillbirth child, you killed your child. That's mind-boggling to me. Like, what kind of implicit bias has to exist in a society for you to not even believe that a Black woman can give birth, can have a stillbirth? That your immediate first thinking is, if a Black woman has a baby and that baby is no longer living, she killed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not implicit bias, by the way. That's
right.
That's outright. That's outright racism. And and for me, this is one of those things that I love the ability to give people information to not only advocate for themselves, but to know for themselves what's going on. And the more we talk about it, the more we can put out there, so that people know, the wider public understands what's going on with people, that people can be aware of it. Because, like Linda Freeman says, I thought it was very interesting. She said, I'm sure many of you are saying to yourself, well, this doesn't happen today. People aren't dying from various illnesses or infections because medical personnel are refusing to care for them based on their race, religion, gender, or what have you. That goes against their oath to care for sick people. And she said, but the truth is that, yes, this is still a problem. African Americans and other racial ethnic minorities have historically been and remain affected by healthcare disparities. And it's important that we call it out so that we can address it like we're doing here and now.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I don't know what to say except that this is something that we have to, and as a mother of a daughter, when her time comes, I'll be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
I will be there along with her husband. I will be there just to help. And I think that you're going back and you think at one of Violet Larry's recommendations were to use a doula. Or have a midwife or a birth coach. But these were some of our. That's some of our history and tradition, the culture, of people who are there that know the community, they're from the community, they know you, they know your family, and they deliver that baby. We lose something from that kind of familiarity with your provider. We lose something with that familiarity in terms of the culture. And you could speak to somebody, and that's another recommendation is that, as we educate the general public, the medical establishment has to be educated in terms of what is cultural competency. All right? Maybe it's not that somebody won't listen to what you're doing. Maybe you're talking down to them.
Right.
Two, maybe you're saying something that they cannot effectuate without additional support or assistance. Things like breastfeeding, you have to have, it takes patience. And so you have to have somebody there. You don't just say, oh, here's the formula, let's go, because you're not going to follow through. People need support with that kind of thing. Yeah. So we really have to do a good job letting people know. Yeah. I never thought about all this Black mothering.
Yeah, man. And even as you were talking, what came to my mind, I kind of saw this visual, like, within Black heritage, Black culture, just how many people were around one woman that would give birth in a village. You know what I mean? Whereas now, you might have one family member and the rest is like medical personnel, right? Yeah. And so it's like, what if, Black women really began to kind of take advantage of, that need. But then at the same time, we are in a Western culture. And so, hospitals are not going to let you bring in, 10 people that you love and,
Claudia,
and trust.
When your time comes, you can do it at home if you want.
I do not want to.
Come on.
No. Listen,
my mother pool.
Listen, my mother is an actual health professional, okay? She
would allow
has a PhD in nursing and chairs the nursing and health professions at Valparaiso University. My mother would never let me give birth.
She wouldn't?
In nobody's house. My mother is going to make sure I'm in somebody's hospital. But she would definitely feel like she would have to be there.
Yeah.
And I've seen her advocate for other people in the hospital. That's just not even, the people that are having children. I haven't seen her do that. But just going to the hospital when someone is struggling with diabetes or has had a heart attack or a stroke or is going into surgery or whatever, because so many health professionals, regardless of the issue, they just flat out do not provide really good health care to people of color. It's like having someone else in the room, and she's challenging these nurses and doctors saying, did you do this? And aren't you supposed to put the IV here? And, well, you're supposed to do this first before you do that. They hate her.
Oh my God. I can only imagine.
Who is this chick and why is she in here watching everything I do and questioning everything that I do? Yeah. But it's like people genuinely, at least the sick people, genuinely appreciate that, because it's like when she's not there, they do whatever they want. And I think that's what, unfortunately, so many of us are experiencing. Many of us don't have health advocates that we can bring into our bedside with us when we are going through different things, and people don't necessarily know what questions to ask and how to hold these health professionals accountable so that we get the most out of what we're paying for. Because when I found out how expensive it was to have a child in a hospital, I said that alone is birth control.
Well, that's what, hence again, the home option, Just kidding. But, well, and let me put it this way. Okay, so, my opening story notwithstanding, I've not had any situation like that since where, I felt unlistened to, or not cared for, and I have family members who are health professionals as well, and they are truly professionals, health professionals. I think what is missing is the need for us to, participate in this. One, as we always talk about, participating ahead of time with prevention and with good health. If you go into the situation and you're aware of what's going to happen or whatever, you're up on the procedures, and you're up on what your responsibility is, and you're up on what it means to have a healthy baby, and you're up on what it means to be a healthy mom in that process. That's already. You took care of a lot of that, right? Yeah. You can't help if you're older like me, but when you go in. But those things, what is missing is the front. If we can front load it, we can bring people in and the advocacy, and to add that to the medical practice around us, I think that would be good. Yeah. I think that would be good.
Now, there's another aspect to mothering while black that I want to ask you about, because I read a piece by a woman where she basically feels like motherhood or mothering as a black woman is a political entity. She feels like to be black and to be a mother, you are constantly trying to either teach or train your child about how to move in American spaces, in white spaces, how to, handle the cops, how to respond to various entities. You're teaching your child about race and, all these kinds of things. Did you feel that pressure when you were raising your kids to teach them about race, to teach them about the cops and racism and all this kind of stuff in America, how to move about like that? Do you feel do you agree with her that it's political? Do you disagree? What are you thinking?
I disagree that it's political, but I agree that you have just your very existence, like we talked about before, challenges the status quo. Think about, I was thinking of reading this week for my devotion, reading the story of Moses and how Pharaoh had the decree out that the midwives, when they delivered a baby that was a male baby, they were supposed to kill the baby. And the Bible says that the midwives feared God, and they would not do that. Wow. The midwives feared God, and they would not do that. I think that when you fear God, not only are you preserving this life, you're preserving the life, all the way through, which some of our evangelical friends would think about. We're trying to preserve life and have our children ready to negotiate some of the difficulties in life. And so teaching a child the word at an early age, some may think that is, you could interpret that as political, because when you teach the child the word, they know, as we learned in Roots, there's someone greater than yourself, you know what I mean? And there's someone who has a plan for you. I taught one of my children, or we've always taught our children about the reality and the awareness, or taught an awareness of racial issues. One of my children got into trouble at school because his teacher was teaching about, she was just going through so-called Black History Month, and she was hitting all the major, Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., he fought against racism, yada, 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 that kind of thing. And of course, there's reverse racism, is what she said. My son, who was in 4th or 5th grade at the time, your look, my son said, "No, there's not." Excuse me, no, there's not reverse racism. Well, of course, that could have, and wait, I'm thinking to myself, did we teach him that? No, there's no such thing as reverse racism. And he would not let it go. And that social studies class ended with him on the outside.
She put him out the classroom?
Yeah, because he wouldn't let it go. And I had to go talk to the school and wanted to talk to her. But she had to be off that day. She didn't want to come in for that discussion.
I bet she didn't want to come in for that discussion.
And the principal and we had a discussion about this. Okay, let's talk about racism, all right? All right? And we talked about racism equals prejudice plus power plus a number of, so I made the little equation and went on the board. And I was like, forgive me for writing that on the whiteboard, but I did this. And I says, historically, it has not been the position of Black people to, well, Black people can say this and do that. I was like, hurt feelings is not the same thing as racism.
No,
it is not. And if racism is hatred, wouldn't reverse racism, as my husband say, be love? Wouldn't it? So what am I trying to say? You have to. It is our responsibility, and as an advocate in court, we have to teach our children how to navigate in schools that may have a low tolerance for differences, let's say it like that, or for schools that may have resource officers that they would tap to come in and deal with our children. We have to talk to our children about how to navigate. And so how many times was I representing Black youth, in particular in Dayton, Ohio? Don't give them a reason to stop and talk to you. But when they do stop and talk to you, I want you to know this is how you respond. All right? You have to do this for the sake of our children. Our children have to be prepared. To me, that's a downer to even talk about what can happen out there, because could Trayvon Martin's parents have had that conversation? It had nothing to do with talking to the police. This was just a neighborhood vigilante, you know what I mean? But, what do you do with Rice? What was his name? Tamir Rice. In Cleveland, where they pull up on the child, and within 2 seconds, they shoot him dead. Cop didn't even get out of the car good. Is there a speech that prepares your child for that? Yet we worry about this, right? There is a whole host of things that we have to think about. But I think, going back to that story of Exodus, you think about how Moses's family, how God operated that whole thing, where he's, floating through the river. If you remember the ancient scripture talking about how he's picked up by Pharaoh's daughter, and then Miriam is there. Do you need a nurse for him? I mean, wait, what kind of smart child is that? Do you need a nurse? I'll go fetch the nurse, and brings the mom back.
Wow.
Who holds on to this baby, nurses him, loves him, trains him, and teaches him.
Yeah.
In the Word of God and, who God is to him.
Wow.
That is what you can do. I can't control what the powers that be are going to do with respect to war. I have 2 sons. Believe me, I think about that. What's going to happen? Are they going to take our children to fight a war that I may or may not support? What are we telling my children who grew up in relative ease, and comfort? What am I telling them about courage and calling out to God for yourself? That's the best thing that you can do. You know what I mean?
So for you, it's like the greatest gift that I could give you is it's not to exclude teaching you about race. Like, yeah, I will teach you about that and about the society and the culture, nation or whatever. But for you, it's like the best thing that I can teach my sons, my daughter, is how to have a relationship with God and how to know God for yourself so that you can have the skills and the ability to kind of navigate whatever circumstance you find yourself in, whether it be racialized or not.
Oh yeah. The reality is there. I come from a long line of very smart, strong people. I remember the story in my family. My great-grandmother went to school where the teacher was mistreating my father. So this goes back to the 40s or 50s in Philadelphia. My great-grandmother told that teacher, "You want to smell my fist?" That's the kind of people that we come from.
Yeah.
But our
great.
children have to be ready. They have to be strong. They have to know who they are. I'm thinking of another story that we are doing with Message most recently. That's in the current issue of Message magazine regarding the modern day Harriet. This woman who is doing all that she can do to reclaim people who are caught up in the lifestyle of human trafficking.
Wow.
And at the end of the interview, I'm thinking, oh, this is so beautiful. I probably have romantic notions in the different kind of sense of how heroic this is, how beautiful this scene is when they come to meet. And so when the parent meets, I said, oh, how beautiful it is. That must be when you return a child to their mother after being out there and caught up. And I thought she was going to be like, yes, it's beautiful, it's tear-jerking. And so she says, you would be surprised how ugly some of the parents are with respect to their children.
Wow.
Many children are out on the streets because they're pushed out.
Mercy.
Out in the streets because there's another something that the parent wants to do. You would be surprised at the cutoff when a parent who's saying, I can't deal with you anymore, or I don't want to deal with you. And she says when they come back, she's had to get on the phone where people call her late at night. I don't know how to deal with them. She says, well, first of all, you're going to get right. You're not going to call this child outside of their name.
Wow.
And so when you talk about parenting as a Black mother, I think about my mother.
Yeah.
My mother to this day, as you see where I am in life, okay? I'm not some spring chicken. My mother will say, you can do it. She's still like that. You could have been Oprah. Or you could be, just go there and call Oprah. And see if you work with her. Just go over there and do it, because my mother spoke faith and greatness into all of us.
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing that has to be done for all. You can't speak, you cannot model, I'm stupid, I can't get this, you won't get this. You don't pronounce over your children inability or incompetence in any way.
My Lord.
Everything that comes out of your mouth is for building up. And recognizing that this God has given you this child for a limited time. They have to believe who they are in God. And if you tear that down, I love the story. Excuse me, I'm just talking. So
No.
You got me talking.
This is exactly what I want.
But Jesus, the story in the Bible where Jesus is, let the children come to me, and don't push them away. And he later on he says, unless you become as a little child. You know what I mean? And you had to receive the little child. Jesus talks about people who would offend a little child. You turn anybody away from. He says, they should have it would be better if they had a millstone wrapped
around their neck and thrown into a river.
Okay, and I love it because I don't love it, but this was Jesus's analogy, right?
Yes.
The millstone. When you go back to the original text, because I think I don't know what a millstone is because I don't live in that kind of society, right? But the millstone. And don't excuse my language because this is what it was. It was the ass stone. What is an ass stone? That's the stone that they connect the ass to, the donkey, to turn around and mill the thing. So Jesus has said, that stone is the stone somebody should tie around you because you are the ass then, apparently.
My Lord.
Put that in the river. Take that big thing, roll that thing out. So anyway, like I said, this is Jesus's analogy. Don't write me, okay? Don't at me. But that's his idea.
Yeah.
Of the importance of taking care of the children and making sure that they are not sent away, disenfranchised, unheard, unvalued, and untaught.
Wow. It doesn't get any better than that. I can't. I have nothing else to add. I think that's beautiful. Just thinking about everything that you said about what it really means to mother while Black, but mother as a Black woman and as a Christian Black woman. That's powerful. So this has been another episode of What's the Message with yours truly, Claudia Allen and Carmela Monk Crawford. And we are excited about everything that's happening at Message Magazine. So make sure that if you are in the Savannah, Georgia area, to join my friend at our Message Power Pack weekend on February the 1st.
West Broad Street Church.
West Broad Street, Seventh-day Adventist Church, Savannah, Georgia, February 1st. And what church are you going to be at on February 15th?
That would be the Longview Heights, in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, so February 15th, make sure if you are in Memphis, Tennessee, make sure you meet Carmela at the Longview Heights Seventh-day Adventist Church, all right? And if you are in Charlotte, North Carolina, make sure you come see me on February the 8th at Northeast Seventh-day Adventist Church. And of course, you got to make sure you are subscribed. So visit www.messagemagazine.com. That is www.messagemagazine.com. Make sure you are getting our print issue and you are up to date on all of our social media, on our website, so you can follow what L. David Harris is doing in the book of Daniel with Message Daily and what many of our other forthcoming podcasts are going to be talking about, as well as many of our online articles. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.